Welcome, everyone. We are here at the We Are One Summit. It's all about cultivating inner peace to build a better planet. And we are here today with Anne Gordon, who is a certified Dolphin Energy Healing practitioner, sharing the profound healing energy and profound messages from the dolphins and the whales. She empowers others to share the healing in her dolphin whale energy healing certification program. But the way that I have known Anne is that you have spent your entire life in the presence of whales and
Yes.
dolphins, watching orca whales while boating and growing up in the Pacific Northwest. And Anne has been running her own successful whale and dolphin wisdom retreats internationally since 2007. And that's really to help participants connect both deeply, in a very physical and in a spiritual way.
Right.
And I was very lucky that I got to attend one of your wild dolphin retreats for my
Right.
40th birthday in Bimini in the Bahamas, and it was profound. It was profound. So, so what drew you to the orcas? Because I think that sometimes we see fish or we see, like animals, and sometimes we connect to them and sometimes we don't. But what really drew you to the orcas at such an early age?
Well, it was easy because I was growing up there, right? And my dad had a boat, and so I we lived right on the water, so I got to see them quite often. So that was a blessing in itself. And what I realized, kind of looking back at it, obviously there was a lot of excitement, there was a lot of joy every single time you saw them. You didn't see them like every day, so it was a gift when you did, you appreciated it. And what I also noticed, again, looking back on it, that there was there was like I felt like I was in the presence of a really loving, protective older brother whenever I was with them. So there was this sense of peace and reassurance and like guidance from them that I wasn't even like conscious of until many years later, but that energy was always there. And of course, it was something such a yummy feeling that you just wanted more and more and more of it.
Yeah, yeah. I think that's some of the like spiritual development. You're like, ooh, I can feel this good more often.
Right?
I can feel loved and appreciated and seen. Oh my gosh.
Yes.
Like,
Yes. Exactly.
so when did you start taking people out into the ocean with you? Like when did you start bringing people into those spaces where they could start having their own experiences?
Yeah, so I need to go backwards a little bit to get to that point, and that is that, I studied biology and animal behavior in university. I worked as a zookeeper. I trained wild animals to do educational outreach programs, and I started training animals for movies and television, and I did that for over 20 years in the Pacific Northwest.
Mhm.
Now, as I did that, I got a call one day. This is, well into my career to work on a film in that was shooting in Panama. And so I was hired by that film, went down there, and I knew very little about Panama. It had a canal and it had a jungle. That was about all I knew. And so I went down there. But what was fascinating is that film hired a local tribe of indigenous people that
Mhm.
still live out in the jungle as they have for millennia, as the actors on the film.
Oh, wow.
So I got to hang out with them on the movie set and visit their villages on the weekends. And there was nobody on the film crew that wasn't touched by the warmth and the friendliness and the openness of these beautiful people. And as fate would have it, I ended up marrying one of the men from the tribe.
Meow.
Yeah, right? And so I moved down there to be with him. And as I'm down there, I'm thinking, okay, I'm in a country with two oceans only 50 miles apart. We have to have dolphins and whales. What species do we have, and how do I get out to see them?
Mhm.
And it took actually 2 years to find out that, with a lot of questioning and asking, that Panama is one of the only places in the world where you get humpback whales from the southern hemisphere and the northern hemisphere that breed and give birth at
Whoa.
opposite times of year. But so I was like, oh my gosh, that's amazing. And I also realized nobody was doing whale watching in the entire country. And so when I got out, I took a weekend and I went out to the Pearl Islands, which are about 35 miles south, straight south of Panama City on the Pacific side. And I got there and everybody starts talking about whales. I'm like, okay, tell me more, tell me more, tell me more. And it wasn't officially whale season. It was the northern hemisphere migration, which is much smaller than the southern there. And I hired a local fisherman and I said, let's go find dolphins. So out we went and we're searching, 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 searching. And then all of a sudden he cries out in Spanish, whales! I'm like, wait, what? And we ended up finding a pod of pantropical spotted dolphins that led us right to these whales. There were four humpback whales. And I got in the water and I swam with the dolphins, and the whales were nearby. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. Now, at the time, I had also been doing, when I moved to Panama, there was really no film work to be had down there. So my husband's tribe survived on tourism. They would have visitors come out to the village and they would proudly share their culture and history with them. And so I started working as a tour guide and had my own little tour company to support my husband's village. And so I was already involved in tourism. So when I went out to the and found whales, I thought, if it's that easy to find whales and it's not even their peak season, I could do this tour too,
Yeah.
right? So that's when my whale watching began. And I started with more day tours,
Mhm.
taking people out, doing the biology, the behavior, etc. And it was fun. Yet, pardon the pun, but I wanted to dive deeper into connection with both the whales and the dolphins, but also with my clients, and to bring in the spiritual aspect and what we can learn from them and their healing energies. And it's interesting because at the exact same time that I moved to Panama was the exact same time I was getting certified as a dolphin energy healer. So it all came together at the exact same time. And so that's when my retreats were born, was by just putting it out there and saying, hey, who wants to come and spend a week in Panama with me and the humpback whales?
Wow.
Yeah,
When did you like what was the like for yourself, what was the like pivotal moment that was like, okay, the biology is awesome, the kind of like, the life on Earth aspect, but what was that pivotal moment wanting to help people? Because you talk about how whales and dolphins are ambassadors. So like,
right.
how did that moment click for you?
It actually clicked years before that. So I had about, I'm going to date myself here, in 1999, I had been working, training animals for the film industry, and it's a lot of work, it's a lot of physical work, it's expensive work, and the animals need care all the time. And so, but I just kept, all of a sudden, I kept thinking about the dolphins. It was like I felt the call of the dolphins. And I hadn't been out on the water with the orcas in quite some time. And at that same time, I had in the previous years started waking up, opening up to spirituality as a whole, right? So I was learning to meditate and all those things, right? Reading books, the conversations with gods and all the, the beginning books that you read. And I booked a trip to go out for my birthday to go out orca watching, and we ended up being in this super pod of all three resident pods together for 2 hours. They're breaching, they're splashing, they're swimming under the boat, they're looking at us, they're spying. I mean, every behavior possible. It was amazing. And so that clearly was an opening for me, not realizing at the time. And then I moved from Seattle to California not long after that. And I just started reading everything I could on the spiritual connection with dolphins and whales,
Mhm.
communicating with dolphins and whales, as well as meditating with them and intentionally bringing them into meditations.
Mhm.
And so that's when I started like really embracing them as a spiritual path. But what was really amazing is prior to that time, I had never been married. I hadn't, and I had a few boyfriends here and there, but I had gone this long span without a date, years and years and years. But I always wanted that partner, that ideal romantic partner that we all dream of, right?
Yeah.
But I really wanted it. And I was like, I felt like something was missing in my life without it
Yeah.
until I really started connecting with the dolphins and whales.
Mm.
Until one day, I remember the day I was in California at home on my own and thinking, you know what? Good. I don't feel alone.
Mm.
I feel like I have this whole support system of dolphins and whales spiritually with me all the time.
Yeah.
And if I never get married, I'm good. I'm happy. I love my life. Right. And so that was kind of like, that was when it was like, oh, wow, this is powerful stuff.
Mm.
And of course, ironically, within a year, I was married because I stopped caring about it. Right. It wasn't important to me anymore. I mean, it was great. Yes, I loved being married. And it wasn't like I was like, I need it. Right. I relaxed about it.
Yeah.
And so all the things that I had learned and received from them in meditations. And then for me, and you know this because you've experienced it, but that when I do a dolphin or whale energy healing session, I'm not somebody who can really feel energy, but I receive a pretty steady flow of visions and messages that they share with me. And so everything that I had learned in every session I had ever done for clients or group sessions or on my retreats, it's like was amazing. So I have documented all of that. And so it's just like become this like encyclopedia of wisdom that the dolphins and whales have shared with me that I apply and of course now teach to everybody who's willing to listen about how the dolphins and whales can teach us to live in harmony and balance, in joy, in flow, in abundance, all the things. Because they've been on this planet for 40 million years. We've been here a tiny little amount in comparison, and we're the new kids on the block. We're just bumbling, and we're the toddlers making a lot of mistakes, bumbling around. And they're here, they're the elders who are here holding space for us, eager, ready, willing, and able to support us and guide us. All we have to do is ask.
And that like resonates really deeply with how you experience the orcas as an older brother. And it's like they're like, we're family.
Yep,
I'm older. I'm older.
right.
But like I will take you under my fin.
Yes, yes, exactly.
Oh, that's really like so you have documents of everything the whales and dolphins have ever shared with you? Like is that for real?
Most of it I do. I have this, I have it, turning it into a book. And at first I was going to just publish it as it is. And I have it actually organized by species, but it's not a book you would read cover to cover. It'd be more like an encyclopedia to look things up.
Right.
But I got this hit one day that it needed more of me in it. So I'm currently rewriting it as an adding story. So I'm like teaching, for example, um, there's a whole chapter about forgiveness. So I'm dividing it by concepts. And so there's a chapter about forgiveness. So I teach all about the gray whales represent forgiveness
Mhm.
and that why they represent forgiveness, that they were known by the whalers as the devilfish because they were the only species of whale that actually fought back against the whalers.
Right.
And so they were quite aggressive. But now, in those very same lagoons where they were hunted almost to extinction, they will literally come right up next to the boat. They will raise themselves up and you can touch them. You can kiss them. They will bring their newborn babies and push them up to you, let you babysit.
Wow.
It's amazing. So they have forgiven the human race. And so it's a powerful teaching. So I talk about that. And then I share some direct channeling, some direct messages from the gray whales in that chapter. And then I tell stories in my own life where I have applied that lesson that they have taught me about forgiveness.
Yeah. How did you apply that lesson in forgiveness to your life?
Oh man, it's there's many that this one of the stories I tell in there is actually part of it was when my marriage was ending,
Mhm.
right? And learning to forgive, even though, there's always pain when there's a divorce. It's always hard. But my ex-husband and I are very good friends
Mhm.
to this day, right? We still text each other, we still talk, we still enjoy each other,
Yeah.
we still love each other, but it's just not right for us to be married, right? But the most amazing example of forgiveness is actually comes from, and I share a lot about my ex-husband's tribe because when I first met them, it was pointed out to me that they're a lot like a human dolphin pod because they live in this true unity community where family's number one and community's number two and work is last on the list. And right, and that kind of opposite to the way we are in this
I know. I was just thinking, I was just like,
modern
oh, our
civilized world.
order is a little mixed up in the United States.
It totally is. And so the story I tell in there is I'll have to preface this by saying that indigenous people, they're just like other indigenous people, they can't handle alcohol very well. So when there is alcohol at a party, it's often not pretty, right? And so there was a party one night. I wasn't there. I tended, and when I knew what was going to happen, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm out of here. But because I don't drink, and it's like, yeah, I don't need to be part of that. But go have fun, guys. So my brother-in-law, one of my brothers-in-law was they had, the party was in full swing. Everybody's had some alcohol, and he and some buddies were at the far end of the village, just hanging out, talking, doing what you do. And another man from the tribe, from another village upriver, came up, and turns out that my brother-in-law had dated his wife way back when.
Mhm.
So this man that came up had was jealous for whatever reason. And whether there was a reason or not, who knows. But he started to fight and he ended up stabbing
Mm.
my brother-in-law in the gut,
Wow.
which is really bad when you're in a village that's 45 minutes upriver and then another half an hour to the nearest hospital once you get off the river.
Yeah, medical services are no joke. Yeah.
No joke. So they, of course, packed him into the dugout canoe, sent him down the river, got him to the hospital. Everything was okay. He survived, all good. But here's the amazing part. About 3, 4 weeks later, my husband and I were at the boat ramp where we had just come down the river from the village, gotten out. We were walking up to our car, and he runs into the guy who had stabbed his brother. Now, I kind of, just said a quick hello, and I'm like, I don't want to talk to that guy, right? And, but my husband starts chatting with him like they were long lost buddies. And they just had this lively, friendly conversation walking all the way up the hill. And I'm like, what the heck? And so after we got in the car and this guy went off a different direction, I said, why did you talk to him? He stabbed your brother.
Yeah.
He's like, it's history. It's done. It's over. I was like, oh my gosh. It's like, talk about forgiveness and living in the present moment. And then a couple months later, He turns to me one night, my husband, and he said, the funniest thing, he says, Anne, your race is really weird. I did. I laughed. I'm like, okay, what do you mean? And he said, because when you guys get mad at somebody, you get mad for an entire year. I didn't have the heart to tell him that in our world, our society, sometimes people get mad for an entire lifetime, right?
Yep.
And but that's just inconceivable to them. And so it's much like the gray whales. It's like they have some of those gray whales in that lagoon are old enough to remember the whaling. Yet they have no ill will towards us at all. Keep bringing their brand new babies up for us to touch.
Amazing.
Powerful, powerful lesson.
Do you think that in that space when I'm especially in this summit, I've been really thinking a lot about this idea of reciprocity
Hmm.
and how there's this kind of enormous we receive enormous amounts from nature, and she never stops giving, like no matter what we do, like she keeps loving us even when she's straightening out and hurricaning and
Yep.
reorganizing her all the energy that's moving around this planet.
Right.
Like there's this endless giving, and it's like how in that space where you're around these beings who are just like still keeping their hearts open and just living
Yes.
in that vibrational dimension, like how are you noticing reciprocity from your human self as you're
Yeah.
returning back, like that gift towards them? Like how do you notice that flow is happening from you towards them?
Yeah, I think it's a lot like paying it forward.
Hmm.
So it's like when you're with these animals, and what comes to mind is like when you were with me in Bimini and we're in the ocean, and the dolphins could be anywhere in the entire ocean, right? They don't have to be with us. There's no cages, there's no walls, right? And so and they come racing to the boat. They come into alignment with the boat, they hang out with us, and then we slip in the water and they hang with us. And that it's just an amazing experience, right? It just that. But in that moment, and you've experienced it, so you know, when we are in the water with them, so much happens that we're not even aware of consciously because we're just like, oh my God, there's dolphins right there, right? And we're having amazing encounters with them, and we're looking them at the eye and we're watching their behavior,
Hmm.
and we're just in awe of that. But what's happening is it brings us right into this present moment, right? And I watch it when the dolphins show up on the boat, it's like this wave of silliness goes through every one of you on the boat. And
Yeah.
you guys start laughing and playing, sometimes bursting into song. It's just so fun to watch. And and in the water, it's just like we're in awe, we're in wonder. When was the last time you were, as an adult, you were truly in wonder, right? It's not often.
Yeah.
And it often takes us, it has to be something in nature, like watching a volcano erupt or watching a blizzard or like, oh my gosh, right? It's amazing. Or a flower bloom, right? It's all that incredibleness. And so we brings us to that present moment, which brings us into allowing our joy, our childlike playfulness to come out, our true personality that many of us have been stuffing down and oh, I have to conform, I have to fit in, I have to do this, I have to do that, right? All that goes away. And so when that gives us a physical relaxation in our bodies,
Hmm.
and it softens and opens our heart,
Mm.
which then allows for even more of that dolphin energy to come in, right?
Yeah.
And I actually just received this message today that when we are that close, we are literally exchanging DNA because we're swimming through each other's slips, um, slip stream, sorry. And we're also, it's like they're shedding skin, we're shedding skin, how a hair floats off, right? We're in each other's, it's a soup of mix of DNA that they blend in and welcome in, and that we are not even conscious, but is coming in to us, right? And so that again works on us and softens and allows us, as we leave and go about our life, we're carrying that energy of the dolphins with us,
Wow, that's
and
cool.
which can then just permeate off of us. And we're, as you know, you can speak about it, you're a changed person after spending a week swimming with wild dolphins, right?
For real. For real.
Yeah,
Like
you're
I mean, I am obsessed with dolphins now.
it's
Full obsessed with dolphins now. And I mean, it was, yeah, we weren't even seeing them every day when I was down there, but it
yeah,
was like every interaction that we had was just so like so deeply moving. And like you said, like I was underwater and I had my like scuba mask on and my breathing tube, and I was like laughing underwater. And and I'm very intuitive, and I also love learning about death and the transition in and out of these bodies. And like one of the dolphins, I was like, where do you go when you leave your body? Because it was like an older dolphin. And he just showed me like the process of like what it looked like. It almost was like plasma like leaving his body. And it
beautiful.
was just so like every interaction that I had was just so fun and so interesting. And yeah, it was life changing. Like they still come into my dreams with me.
Right.
Like they still swim into my dream, and they're different than my regular dreams. They're always like very, very specific to healing. But I like, I'm deeply and profoundly grateful for you just holding space. Because I was thinking about it. I was like, like you're not like doing a lot when as a facilitator, like you just let people be in that field. And it's
It's all, I don't need to do a lot of facilitating. The dolphins work the magic, not
I
me.
mean, truly, but like but you hold the container for everybody to feel safe and relaxed and all of that. And also, it's just, I mean, it is transformative. Like yeah, I just can't speak enough of it.
Yeah. Thank you for sharing your perspective. And getting back to your question about reciprocity, is that you are this changed person. So, and that's a permanent change, right? That you carry with you,
Yeah.
right? That softens you in, like, for example, had you not gone, if somebody does something to you that in the past might have angered you or you reacted harshly, now it's like, well, you know what? Maybe I'll just think about this. You may react completely differently. So you're carrying that softness, that gentleness, that dolphin energy, that dolphin way of being with you in every moment of your life, that you interact with people who will never swim with dolphins, yet they're getting the benefit of it through you.
Yeah. Very cool. Very cool. So, would you be interested in, and you can absolutely say no, but would you be interested in sharing any messages from dolphins or whales today, or doing a little bit of your kind of special magic healing? Do you have any interest in sharing a little bit of your gifts today?
Sure, sure. Let's see what comes through.
All right.
So, as you know, I will close my eyes, I will tune in, and we'll just see who wants to share with us today.
Okay.
So, we have the sperm whales with us in this moment. And they are here, they are saying, we are the great whales of the ocean, the largest of the toothed whales. And yet, there are many who are afraid of us because of your Moby Dick story, and because of exaggerations and made up stories. But that the real reason is that we represent going deep, diving deep within yourself. For in our lives, we must dive very deep into the ocean to find our food, the giant squid who never come to the surface. Yet we love the darkness. We love the depth. We have no fear. Yet you humans rarely dive deep within yourselves. That there is much that you fear about revealing yourself to yourself, even more so to others. And yet, in the depths, there is freedom, there is comfort, there is safety, for you are in control of you. But when you refuse to dive deep within, that is when those emotions, those trapped memories, they are like bubbles. They want to rise to the surface, yet you are not allowing them. But there are times they will come up inappropriately. You all have experienced lashing out at someone inappropriately and then immediately regretting. But when you take the time, when an emotion comes up, to welcome it, to say yes, to understand the emotion by being willing to dive within, to look at it, to understand it. And we also understand that it may be a little uncomfortable. Just like when we dive down, there is pressure from the ocean on our bodies. But it is not, we have learned to welcome it because we look at it as a virtual hug from the entire ocean, that pressure, and that it squeezes out anything that does not belong held within us. So we invite you to dive deep within when emotions arise. Take time, and that can look like, for you humans, it can look like journaling or meditating or even discussing it with a good friend you feel safe with. Or when emotions come up, clearing your calendar to dive deep within and say yes to the tears, to the anger, to what the frustration, to the fear. And yes, it may be uncomfortable for a brief moment, but then what will come very soon is tapping back into a clear vision of yourself, your true nature, which is nothing but joy. So that is what we would like to share with you today is take a moment, dive deep within, reveal yourself to yourself, and embrace and enjoy who you truly are.
Thank you. Thank you. That was beautiful. I can't wait to go back
It's,
and like listen to that again because I feel like there's so many different pieces of that that hold some juiciness.
yeah, it's a powerful one, and I'll tell you a quick story. When I was going through the end of my marriage, and of course, all kinds of emotions come up at that time. And I remember these waves of sadness came up. And so I cleared my calendar because I remembered this lesson. I cleared my calendar for 3 days. Said, okay, bring it on. Was it fun? No, it wasn't. It, I cried into the pillow. I took naps. I just thought about everything that was going on. But what was amazing is on the afternoon of the second day, so it was just over 24 hours, all I felt was joy. It was just like that weight of sadness was lifted. And does it mean that I never feel sad about the end of the marriage? No, of course not. Right? That's always going to be there. But that intensity is gone. It was really, really a powerful, powerful experience.
Yeah, beautiful. Thank you for being so vulnerable and sharing not only that message but that personal story. It's I think a lot of people can relate to those spaces where there's a lot coming up and
Yep.
maybe not giving themselves the space, and it
Right.
drags it out. It
It totally
drags it
does.
way out.
Yeah, and we all know what it can do. It can cause anger issues, it can cause pain, we can react badly, and it can cause disease in our bodies as it manifests. It's got to go somewhere and it's in there. So why not let it out? And I love that. What they use is like the pressure of the ocean just squeezes it out. And I like had this picture of a sponge just squeezing out all that excess emotion we don't need.
So cool. So cool. Thank you, sperm whale.
Yeah.
Well, Anne, do you have any last little words of wisdom before we kind of begin wrapping up for today's call? Do you have any little words of wisdom that you'd like to share with our attendees?
Sure, and I'm really grateful to be here, and I hope those of you watching are enjoying our discussion here. And I would say if you resonate with the dolphins and whales, that just call out to them. You don't need to get out on the ocean and swim with them like I do, although that's amazing too, but it's not necessary. You can, like I shared earlier, I felt their presence and then I never felt lonely ever again in my life. Have not to this day felt lonely since I started working with them. And so just invite them into your life. And that may be in meditations, ask them to come into your dreams and read about them. And if you can spend time with them, even better. And what's really fun is if you ask them to show you their presence. The dolphins can be a little cheeky sometimes and very playful, and they may show up like you may see a truck with a dolphin on the side of it, right? Painted on the side, or somebody in the grocery store line in front of you has a t-shirt with a dolphin. They like to show up in the funniest ways. Like a funny story is I was walking. I live right near the beach. I live 3 blocks from the beach. So there's this really cool trail that goes along the beach. And then we've got a big pier that you can walk out on. So I like to walk out there. And of course, I'm always looking for dolphins and whales as I'm out there. And on that day, I'm looking as usual. And I walk all the way out to the end of the pier and I didn't see any dolphins. And, it's like, oh man, right? I wish I saw some. Okay. But it still is beautiful. So I'm walking back along the pier and I look down at my feet and there's this little tiny plastic blue dolphin stuck in the crack of the boardwalk,
So
staring me
funny.
at the face. I'm like, okay, I get it. You're
Yep.
here. You're just showing me in a funny way.
That's so
Right. I'm like, okay, thanks, guys. Got it.
I love that. That's so funny. And it's like it is becomes a big scavenger hunt, right? Like when we start
Right.
playing with our spirit guides and
Yes.
nature spirits, and I love that so much.
Yes. Super fun.
And you have a little free gift for our listeners as well that you have something
Ooh.
special that you're offering everybody.
I do. This is a little document that I put together. It's called Healing the World in Partnership with Dolphins and Whales. And I think it's about 12 pages and it goes through different as dolphin and whale living skills that they are here to share with us The gray whale forgiveness is one of those. They talk about whales representing abundance, being the largest creatures to have ever lived, eating the smallest, and you never see a skinny whale. They're
Yeah.
masters of abundance. And dolphins about bringing joy and play and all these surfing through challenges. That is all explained in this document, and it's all free for you.
Cool. Thank you so much. I'm excited to dig in. Well, thank you so much. And there's going to be tons of links below where everybody can kind of find you and check out your retreats and, whatever else they might find to be interesting and inspiring. So I am always inspired by your work, and I just really appreciate us getting a chance to sit down and connect today. So really, thank you for sharing all of your wisdom and just your joy in existence with us today.
Uh, Well, thank you. It's been a real joy to be here. It's fun to reconnect with you. And because we did have such a great time together there in Bimini with the dolphins. And it's always an honor to share the dolphin whale wisdom with others. So thank you.
Thank you.